Welcome, everybody. It is the spring semester, spring 2023. I am here with our first guest this semester, Christine Mobley from Dorman Products. And we are going to launch right into the interview questions. So, Christine, please introduce yourself and Dorman Products to the students.
Excellent. So hi, everyone. I'm Christine Mobley. I am our VP of Talent Management and Diversity and Inclusion. So it's a very, very long title. Essentially what it means, if I just boil it down, is I'm responsible for everything talent related for Dorman Products. So who is Dorman Products? It's an amazing company. I'll just start off by saying that. But for a little bit more insight, probably the best way that I can capture it is we are in the automotive aftermarket. So we are a really unique, innovative company that basically makes aftermarket auto parts. The company itself started a little bit more traditionally, if you will, in terms of selling some of those parts to some of your retailers that you're probably familiar with, like Advanced Auto Parts, things along those lines. But obviously over the years and years that we've been in existence, especially with the external world changing so much, our products have really expanded into a lot of other markets. Amazon, for example, you can click on Amazon and you'll find our products all over the place. The other thing that's unique about Dorman over the last couple of years is traditionally we were more focused on just your regular motor vehicles. Today, through a lot of different acquisitions that we've done and a lot of growth initiatives that we've done over the last couple of years, is we've now expanded into heavy duty. So that could mean parts that go into some of our larger tractor trailer type of vehicles. We also just recently acquired Super ATV, which now gets into your sports and recreational vehicles, as really cool ATVs that you see out there. So it's really cool right now that we have really diversified ourselves in a way that we consider ourselves more of a motor vehicle type of company versus just an automotive type of organization.
Sure. That was a great introduction. So I would like to ask you two questions. So one, how long have you been with Dorman?
Yeah, so my ride has been a little weird. So I actually started, it was the right before like Labor Day of 2019. So I was all excited, new role. And then of course, a couple months later, the pandemic hit. So I almost feel like even though it's been like over 3 years at this point, because of that period of time, I still feel like I'm new to the organization. And it's been great. It's been a heck of a ride. I will tell you, again, the journey, the company looks completely different, even with the pandemic.
Sure. Yeah.
Completely different than when I started on day one. And I really feel like that's the really cool part about the company is you're really kind of like living it live TV as it's growing and maturing, and just a lot of cool things happening.
Sure. And I think that's like an important note to really capture in the sense of, even though COVID is still really among us, we see a lot of, companies, quote unquote, returning to normal. Right. And so how, you said you came in 2019 Labor Day, so you really didn't get to see too much of the normal before everything shut down and went virtual. Right. So would you say, Dorman has retained some of those innovative practices that they responded to and adapted to during COVID, and then also try to put them together with maybe some of the older normal practices that were going on?
Absolutely. So if I can be honest, I would say in a very odd way, COVID was actually really good for us. It really, from the position that it really forced us to do things differently. And I think some of the changes, the thought process, the mindsets really just accelerated so quickly. And honestly, I'm not sure if that would have happened had COVID never existed. So what really happened during that time frame is we actually just thrived. And I know that's odd because a lot of companies really kind of struggled during that period.
Sure.
But just like fundamentally as an organization, kind of at the heart of who we are, it's a company that is obviously innovation is heart and center. But what's unique about the company is that it's not a very bureaucratic type of organization. So the ability to really influence and have ideas and make immediate impact, especially given like a crazy environment like COVID, it didn't take us long to do things, and we were very agile during that time frame. So yes, I think a unique thing happened. We knew enough that we needed to protect the core of who we were at that time, and I think we did a really good job of that. But quite frankly, we kind of coupled this entirely new way of thinking and way of doing business and kind of married the two. And honestly, it's been nothing but awesome since then. So it's been actually a really cool story. I hate sharing that with other organizations that I know have had last couple years, but
Yeah.
we've been very, very lucky.
Well, I mean, that's amazing to hear. And I think that's amazing to hear for the students, as, a key theme that we see with younger generations really coming into the workforce is really looking for that innovation and how companies can adapt and change. Right. And I think that's an important segue into, we talk a lot about, especially lately, what does the concept of bringing your full self to work look like? That's something that's very important to our students. And when they're looking for future employers, they want to be able to, one, not only show their dedication and their talent, but they want to feel recognized and seen for who they are. So would you mind sharing an example or two based on what Dorman has done to really showcase, like, hey, you can be here and you could be yourself here?
Absolutely. So let me just full disclosure. I'll call it our diversity and inclusion focus as a company, really formalized itself back in 2020. In fact, it's kind of odd to talk about myself, but I'm actually the first individual that they actually appointed to a VP position in this capacity because of the commitment that they have around this space. And, they didn't want to tuck it under something or put it somewhere else. They really wanted it to be a very visible position in the company for those reasons, to be able to demonstrate that commitment, which I think is awesome. So since then, and again, remember, COVID was in the way there. So, we were really trying to launch our D&I efforts over the last couple years. And I got to say, the people in this company are nothing less than just amazing. So just to give you one example is, if we talk about commitment, is one of the things we've done for the last 2 years is we've actually started an event that's called our All In Summit. So basically what this is it's really kicked off by our CEO, and it's a 2-3 day period of nothing but D&I related conversations, learning, roundtables, fireside chats, lots of just D&I content for 2-3 days. And what happens, quite frankly, is our CEO, along with our leaders, we basically go out, we call our employees contributors, not employees. But what we do is we have our leaders, basically go out to our contributor base and say, look, this is very important. Like, let's figure out, especially for even our frontline employees that might be working in our warehouses or our distribution sites, is look, no, it's busy, no, it's crazy, but for this 2-3 days, this is a focus for the company. There's going to be a ton of offerings that are going to be available. And again, for our sites, a lot of times it has to be virtual. But it was like, go and attend as many as you can. And for those, obviously, that people can attend, we've recorded everything. We had our leaders then make sure that we were capturing the folks that weren't able to participate, like the next couple of weeks, by, pulling them in, showing them the recordings. But really the thought process was, especially for this year, our theme was actually belong. And it was everything that you just talked about. It was really being able to pull out, not from a leadership perspective, but really from our contributors themselves. Like, what is it about Dorman where you can come here and just thrive? And a lot of what we heard, I mean, it was so many different responses, and there were so many whys for our contributors, and it was just amazing to hear. I heard, for example, one of the stories that came out was just simply, hey, I can come to work and I am covered head to toe in tattoos and nobody blinks an eye. Nobody sees my tattoos. I come in, deliver whatever I'm delivering or providing whatever activities I have. I'm heard, they're executed, and, I'm very fulfilled here at work. And so it's just an example to really hear from our folks how they can really just be their authentic self here and really be able to thrive.
Yeah, it sounds like, we have on Handshake, which is the platform we use really to connect employers and students together so that their talent can be recognized. we have a tile on there about like professionalism, and specifically like attire and physical appearance and like what that looks like in the workplace. So I mean, it sounds like it's a growing and changing topic, as more and more individuals come into the environment and really change, what does it mean to look professional? What does it mean to dress professionally, right? And so it sounds like here at Dorman, they have a voice to really share that with higher
Absolutely. I
ups.
mean,
Yeah,
we are the type of environment. And again, I feel like, I want to make sure that I'm being fair across the board.
sure.
We have folks that come on the board who sometimes they want to come in and wear a suit for a particular thing. It's not a requirement. The reality, most of the people are showing up every day in their jeans and a hoodie. And again, it's not about what's on them in terms of what they're wearing. It's really what they're bringing to the party. And I think that's
Yeah.
just, we have something that's called our culture of contribution. And we struggle with describing it to people because it's just one of those really magical things that you just, sometimes you just, it's hard to put your finger on it and describe it. But again, when we have regular business interactions, we could be at the highest level within the organization and really driving some really tough things.
Yeah.
Again, somebody could be standing up there in a jeans and hoodie, and it's like, yeah, nobody skips a beat. We're not focused on that. We're listening to that individual and what they're bringing to that particular meeting, and what they're driving at the end of the day. I recognize it probably sounds very unique, but again, honestly, I think that's why Dorman is such a diamond in the rough, is we just have this very unique culture that just, it really just attracts people to come in, all, shapes, forms, and sizes, and really find, their place within the company.
Yeah, and do you find that helps with advancement? So I know a lot has been talked about, like how the workforce is really changing from people really not staying in jobs and positions as long as they used to, right? So,
Absolutely.
gone is like staying at one single employer for 40 years, what have you. But do you find that through having things like this all-in summit, or elevating voices, or accepting people for who they are and what they contribute to the team, do you find that helps with just retention?
Absolutely, in a huge way. So I'll tell you, I mean, one of the things that we look at as a company is, if you think about it, at least again, this is just kind of our philosophy. Of course, you have a lot of folks who want to expand in their careers, right? And that's very important for them. And quite frankly, dictates how long they're going to stay with an organization. Sometimes people just get impatient while they're waiting for those formal doors to open. I will tell you that is a priority focus for us within Dorman, because what we've kind of unlocked, especially over the last couple of years, is we're trying to focus less on the hierarchy of positions, and focus more on what are those horizontal opportunities where you can be just as fulfilled and be advancing just as quickly, but maybe this way instead of doing the layers. We also take a look at what are those opportunities for our contributors to really get pulled out from where they are and really put them into a space that's maybe outside of their normal day-to-day. That's where we really find that people shine, is if we can continue to find those opportunities where they always have a platform, where they always have an ability to speak and present their ideas. Those type of elements is what keep people coming. We have a type of organization, and I have to laugh because one of our SVPs says it all the time. It's a little bizarre where a lot of what comes out of the company is not necessarily top down. It's our contributors coming to us and saying, hey, I've got something here, like to talk about it, want to share it with people, can I have the platform? And the answer is always yes. And so what we find is, well, yes, people are always going to be looking for that ladder and those title changes and that formal vertical ability to move up. While we're waiting for those doors to open, we spend pretty much 95% of our time figuring out ways to fulfill them in different ways.
Okay, that's great. And, as we come to the close of this interview, is there anything that, like a question that I might not have asked, but there's something about Dorman you still want to share?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the best I can say is, again, I have come from big corporate conglomerates my entire career.
Yeah.
And when I came to Dorman, which at that time was actually even a much smaller company than what it is today, and again, that's only 3 years ago. The thing that just continues to get me out of bed every day is the fact that the way that the company is, our culture and our whole philosophy of how we do business, means that there are many people that can come and make an immediate impact on day one. It's such fertile ground on so many levels, more so than I think any other company that I've seen. The ability to not only be able to have a voice and present ideas, I think kind of the closed loop to all of this is we actually act on a lot of those ideas or suggestions. And I think, again, that's what makes us unique as an organization. Again, there's not a lot of red tape. And if you're an individual who kind of runs towards being a trailblazer, there's not a better place than coming to work at Dorman.
No, that's excellent. And then my last question for you is, as you search for Lehigh talent, what are any pieces of advice that you have for them?
Absolutely. I would say probably the best piece of advice that I can give to all of you is go with where your heart is. You were talking about earlier in terms of, just being authentic and true to yourself. I think that really, really, really is meaningful in terms of finding your career path and that right company fit for yourself. It's so easy to look around and look on social media and, look at all these comparisons. Find the piece of the puzzle that just feels right for you and go for it. I think from a career perspective, that is a complete game changer, or could be a game changer for you in terms of your ability to have a long career with a company. So just something to think about.
Excellent. Well, Christine, thank you for the amazing interview and all the insights you shared, and also just about Dorman. It sounds like amazing opportunities are in store for any Lehigh talent that want to take advantage and are interested, and hopefully one day move on to be a new recruit at Dorman. I will make sure to have all of Dorman's, well, one, I'll have their handshake profile linked in the description, but also have like websites, social media and everything, so that there are multiple ways to connect via students and employer. So
fantastic. Great. Thank you so much for the time today.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.